his bad side, your number is up.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another classic James Bond review. Today I'm taking a look at 1989's License to Kill. The film is directed by John Glenn and it stars Timothy Dalton. We have Robert Davi, Carrie Lowell, Talisa Soto, Anthony Zerbe, Frank McRae, Everett McGill, Benicio del Toro and Wayne Newton. This time round, Bond is out for vengeance against Robert Davi's Sanchez, who is a brutal drug lord who has murdered Felix Leiter's wife on their wedding night and almost killed Felix. And he has his leg bitten off by a shark. So Bond is out for revenge, but the British government are having none of it. They've basically told him to back off. He refuses and hands in his resignation, so he has his license to kill revoked. But that doesn't put Bond off as he goes off, chases after Sanchez in order to put him out of business for good. Right, what are my thoughts on License to Kill? Well, this was the second outing for Timothy Dalton, and unfortunately the last. He was apparently going. They were already going into production in 1990 for the next James Bond film that starred Timothy Dalton, and it just never really happened. I think they basically started getting into legal troubles for a few years, and basically then his contract ran out, I think, in 93 or 94, and then he basically kind of retired from the role at that point. And that obviously led to Pierce Brosnan. And I really do, after watching this, I really do think it's a real shame that we didn't get more Timothy Dalton, because I am actually quite a big fan of License to Kill. I thought The Living Daylights was a solid Bond outing. It had quite a lot going for it in regards to the action and things like that, and Dalton was excellent. I do think it had some weaker elements, whereas this one is full on balls to the wall action with memorable villains, memorable Bond girls, a switch up on the violence. It felt like a very, at times, dark action thriller. And it was pitched brilliantly, I think, by Dalton, his performance here, as this determined Bond, prepared to do what he has to do to take down this, brutal drug lord. And he's teamed up here with two great Bond girls. One incredibly strong one with Carrie Lowell, who is, very strong, independent, and all this kind of stuff. And she's a bit of an ass kicker, but she's absolutely stunning as well. And the great chemistry with Dalton. And I thought that she was one of the finest Bond girls, I think, for years. Very, very good. And then you had Talisa Soto, who was another Bond girl. She was Sanchez's girlfriend, reluctant girlfriend again. Absolutely beautiful. Less to do than Carrie Lowell, but still, a memorable Bond girl. So the Bond girls, I thought, were really excellent here. But even they pale in comparison to Robert Davi's Franz Sanchez, this drug lord. Robert Davi's always been brilliant at playing villains and bad guys. This is easily, I think, his best role in regards to being the villain and the bad guy. Really, really good. Charming at times, completely brutal at others. And he almost steals the show, I think, Robert Davi. A very, very good performance by him and a very, very memorable villain. And then we also get, and I completely forgot about this, I have to be honest, Benicio del Toro playing like the young henchman of Robert Davi Sanchez, another brutal kind of killer. He's right-hand man sort of thing. Pretty good as well by him. He's in the film quite a lot. And my goodness, he's very young and fresh-faced. I think he was only about 21, maybe something like that when he did the film. And again, stands out as a strong villain here. And the action is just fabulous. It's completely on point. And while it kind of, you could argue it deviates away from the typical Bond blueprint, I suppose. I don't think that's a bad thing. There are probably those out there, maybe Bond traditionalists, that don't feel like this is a Bond film in a lot of ways. I have read some things about that, but I'm sorry, but I strongly disagree. I think this is exactly, I think, what the franchise needed. It needed a little bit of something different. It needed a little swerve in a different direction. It needed a different formula. And I think this delivered fantastically. It was, brutal at times as well. And I absolutely love the fact that we got Desmond Llewellyn as Q here in probably his most on-screen time in a Bond film. I might be wrong there, but I think this is the most you ever see him in a Bond film here. And he always had that good relationship, that almost like grandfather relationship to Timothy Dalton's Bond. He was never, quite flippant and angry with the other Bonds that came before, but he was always quite sweet on Timothy Dalton, this Desmond Llewellyn's Q, and it was lovely to see him have more to do here in this film. And I love that scene when he's meeting with M, and M's basically telling him, you've got a job to do, you work for the British government, pull yourself together, leave it to the Americans to deal with. And then Bond hands his resignation in. And he's like, we're not a country club, Bond. I just think that's just a fabulous scene. I think it's done perfectly well. And I thought it was handled very, very well as well. So I really am quite a big fan of this one. And to be honest, it's quite a long time since I've seen this. Well, it's quite a long time since I've seen a lot of these Bonds. And as I keep saying, I've never watched them all in sequence. And this is, I think, a significant step up from the last one. And it does make you wonder what we could have got next from Dalton. Could they have, upped the ante even more and given us something even better than License to Kill? Because I think he was heading on a pretty steep incline here. And that's not to say that, I don't think Timothy Dalton was a good Bond, because I absolutely do. I think he was a fabulous Bond. I just, I would have loved to have got at least another one or two from Timothy Dalton to really cement his position as a very, very, very strong Bond. So, yeah, I really enjoyed License to Kill. I was, a lot of these Bond films that I've watched, I've really, really enjoyed my time with them, but I genuinely did with this one. So let me know your thoughts on this one, and I will see you very, very soon for some more content and reviews on the channel.